Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Warning. The following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
The unbelievable true story of GhostWatch, the greatest horror hoax in TV history. By the end of its hour and a half, the better part of the country was convinced it was the most disturbing thing they'd ever seen. Reviews and recommendations are unbiased and products are independently selected. Post Media may earn an affiliate commission from purchases made through links of this page. At 9:30 p.m., October 31, 1992, 25 years ago, this Halloween, the BBC quietly and depending on who you ask, imprudently foisted the most compelling hoax on an unsuspecting public since Orson Welles excited mass panic on the airwaves half a century earlier with his notorious War of the Worlds. The ruse was a simple 90-minute work of what appeared to be authentic investigative reporting broadcast live and enjoyed, or in some cases endured by more than 11 million oblivious viewers across United Kingdom, none of whom had any reason to doubt that what they were watching was real. As far as the audience knew, the BBC actual, presumably reliable hosts anchors Michael Parkinson, Mike Smith and Sarah Green were presenting a routine special on paranormal phenomena, a dry look at the supernatural by the Beeb. They call it the GhostWatch. By the end of its hour and a half, the better part of the country was convinced it was the most disturbing thing they'd ever seen. It began unremarkably. Parkinson in the audio introduced the subject of the evening, hauntings in Britain. He presented a guest, an expert in the paranormal called Dr. Pascoe, and spoke with her and experiences in the field. The show cut to a council flat in Ealing where Green was on hand with a small film crew to investigate a real-life horror story, a family that claimed to be terrorized by a menacing poltergeist. And all the while, Smith manned the phone lines, fielding calls from viewers interested in contributing their own opinions on matters of the extramundane. The topic was a bit spooky perhaps, but in all respects, this program seemed as ordinary as any other. A spectral figure had appeared in the background of a scene. Doesn't pound in the alleging they saw it. Green camped out in the home where the Early family insisted a ghost resides. Here the Early family heard strange banging noise in the walls and found a perfect, unaccountable ring of water on the living room floor. One of the Early children woke from bed with scratches all over her face. A framed picture was flung inexplicably from the wall. Toward the end of the program, the situation graduated on sheer chaos. Panic-stricken anchors, screaming kids, a full-blown boogeyman glimpsed unmistakably in the reflection of a window. The nation reeled. It is easy to overstate the credulousness of the viewing public in moments of cultural deception. Witness the persistent myth of a silent cinema audience who fled in a terror from La Arrivée d'una train and Gara della Ciotat. But in this case, the legend is true. People, and particularly young people, really did seem to believe GhostWatch was real, and furor really was whipped up amid the confusion. The phone lines were jammed. Children refused to sleep. Even animals were losing it. It later transpired that the creators of the show had run a high-pitched tone throughout the program to agitate England's pet. I had a breakdown from British Telecom, and during the peak 5 minutes, it was over 100,000, the show producer Ruth Beaugourmanten said in an interview about the number of calls the BBC received from viewers about GhostWatch. So assuming they started ringing in after 20 minutes, it must have been, I think, over 1 million altogether. The million calls, the general feeling of the studio was it was 1 million complaints. Baumgarten had to defend the program on a consumer watchdog show against charges of malicious deceit. Green was obliged to appear on Children's BBC the following week to prove to the kids that she was in fact still alive and unharmed. The BBC denounced the show, apologized, and have never once aired it again since. Meanwhile, the psychological fallout went on to be the famous as the special itself. 5 days after the program's transmission, an 18-year-old boy with the learning difficulties, Martin Dunham, hanged himself, having fallen into what his father described as a trance. An article to GhostWatch Legacy in the New York New Statesman recounted earlier this month the boy had become obsessed with GhostWatch and was convinced that there were ghosts in the water pipes of this Nottingham home. Nor indeed did the damage stop there. About a half dozen children in the immediate aftermath of the broadcast were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. Medical studies have been conducted on the show's emotional repercussions. Many of the children who happened to catch GhostWatch live on 1992 still remember it as indelibly terrifying today. Of course, it is difficult to imagine what it would have been like to experience GhostWatch on Halloween night of 1992. It is happily available to enjoy in North America on the boutique horror streaming service Shudder, and I'd encourage anyone to intrigued by this momentous affair on television history to go through it themselves firsthand. You may find, as I did, that even wrench out its persuasive original context seen 25 years later to the day and entirely aware that it's fiction, GhostWatch remains very frightful and provocative, deliberate, deft, and fiendishly clever. This program is a lesson on how to terrify with careful blocking and artful misdirection. A canny haunted house picture put simply. The legend has made GhostWatch history, but it is also earned its place in the canon on its strength as a horror movie alone.